Hi, my name is Kaela Mitchell, and I will be discussing Thomas Nagel's article on sexual perversion. Sexual perversion can be defined as an aberrant sexual practice, meaning a sexual practice which is unnatural. Nagel begins by setting up what he calls general conditions that the concept must meet without analysis in order to be evaluated under his view of perversion. They are as follows. 1. That any sexual perversion will be sexual desires or practices which are unnatural. 2. That fetishes of objects will be seen as perverse, however, natural intercourse will not. Lastly, 3. That perversion will be unnatural sexual inclinations as opposed to unnatural practices adopted from inclination, but for other reasons. Nagel follows this by stating what is not considered a sexual perversion. He states that some Roman Catholics believe that contraception is a sexual perversion. His response to this belief is, although contraception may qualify as a deliberate perversion of the sexual and reproductive functions, it cannot be significantly described as a sexual perversion. A sexual perversion must reveal itself in conduct that expresses an unnatural sexual preference. This concept of perversion is psychological, not physiological. Nagel also states that we do not regard things like sterility, miscarriage, contraception, and abortion as a perversion. But as far as what others consider to be perversions or not, it depends. He states, what is regarded as unnatural admittedly varies from culture to culture. Nagel's hunger analogy is to help us better understand his belief, and it states, hunger and eating are importantly like sex in that they serve a biological function and also play a significant role in our inner lives. Basically, we would not consider someone's appetite as perverted if he liked to eat sand, wood, paper, or cotton, because those things lack psychological complexity that we expect of a perversion. However, we would consider a perversion of someone who liked to eat cookbooks and magazines with pictures of food in them over eating ordinary food. This is actually called gastronomical fetishism. This shows how certain desires to eat are perversions because they go against the direct natural relation between man and food. Nagel continues to explain the desire and refers to part 3 of Sartre's Being and Nothingness. He quotes, like hunger, he argues, sexual desire is about the relation between desire and the object of desire. The object of desire in these situations are people, which make it more complex. Nagel uses a scenario of Romeo and Juliet. Basically, once Juliet senses that Romeo is sensing her, Romeo is now in a position to notice and be aroused by her arousal at sensing him. He senses that she senses that he senses her. It sounds confusing, but it's pretty basic. This is basically to be desired by someone you desire. To break it down even further, this happens, one must sense the other, then the other must sense you, followed by you must sense the other sensing you, and lastly, the other sensing you, sensing them. This is why something is wrong to desire, like it's wrong to desire a child, because it breaks the natural cycle, because a child is not fully mind and bodily able to desire and continue that mutual cycle. Other things that break the cycle of desire are narcissism, bestiality, and sex with inanimate objects while giving them a personhood. All stages of sexual perception are varieties of identification of a person with his body. The victim must recognize him as the source of his own sexual passivity, but only as the active source. In general, it would appear that any bodily contact between a man and woman gives them sexual pleasure. It is not clear, though, whether homosexuality is a perversion if that is measured by the previously stated standard, but it seems unlikely. When 2 men or 2 women engage in intercourse, they cannot both adhere to these sexual roles. In our culture, male's arousal tends to initiate the perceptual exchange, and he usually makes the sexual approach and largely controls the course of the act, and of course penetrates whereas the woman receives. And that is Nagel's beliefs on sexual perversion. Thank you.